Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, my fellow Chibits. Today, I'm here to bring all of you the weekly anime review of Haikyuu Season 2. Josenji. Quite the interesting school. I mean, the school, very enthusiastic and a lot of life. This was a very lively episode of Haikyuu this week. Usually Haikyuu is very lively. I mean, it always is. I mean, look at our cast of characters. Hinata alone is just a very lively character. But when it comes to this episode in particular, our enemy team, Josenji, their enthusiasm of getting riled up to where they want to continue to have fun, pumping themselves up to where they could go against any opponent, and being so unpredictable that you don't even know what the fuck is going to happen next, it made for a fairly interesting episode of Haikyuu Season 2. Now, my overall impressions of this match, it seems like Kurasuno is not really having that big of an issue when it comes to fighting this team, which is to be expected, because, I mean, if you go figure, Kurasuno has been training for, like, half this entire season already. So, if they were to get, let's say, their ass kicked, like, this early on, what's to say about, later on down the road with other teams like Oba and them? Because we know for a fact that that's going to be pretty damn hard to overcome those teams. So, seeing Kurasuno kind of do what they're doing in this episode, even though the team is very unpredictable, it's to be expected. So, the episode overall, though, it was very fun just to see, the backstory of the enemy team, getting to see a little bit more about them, and what drives them, what makes them, continue to play volleyball, so forth, so on. Usually what we kind of see from, teams that, our main team, Kurasuno, goes up against the enemy team. We get a backstory. So, Josenji. It seems like the real match is starting to begin next week, because for the most part, majority of this episode, I guess you can consider a warm-up match. Like, the first set, even though Kurasuno won, is pretty much a warm-up match. And then, like, the first, part of the set 2, it was still considered slightly a warm-up match. But now, with the ending of this episode, you have it to where everybody on Josenji, they're starting to pump themselves up like they're on fire. And I'm willing to bet, their teamwork is going to be rather impressive. Now, the one thing I'm actually very curious about was the overall perspective, or what the coach was trying to accomplish on the Josenji team. Because according to what we found out is the coach has been making it to where the players were fighting in pairs, for instance 2v2, which is very weird, because, I mean, if you think about it, volleyball is a team sport, and having your team work together adds it to where the cogs can, continue moving. That was kind of like the entire point of the Kurasuno training arc. Like, getting to see everybody working together a lot better, and also seeing it to where they're improving their own selves to where they can work with others. That was, like, the main point of the first half of Season 2. And seeing this team, Josenji, kind of not having this teamwork, like, they're very scattered, like, they're not really working together completely, it makes me question, is the team's design, was that actually meant to be showing us how much, Kurasuno has changed compared to how they were? Because, I mean, if you do think about it, Kurasuno, they were organized, probably a little bit more organized than what we're seeing here, but maybe Josenji is a way for us to reflect into them to see how much our characters have grown. For instance, how much they actually work together now compared to really doing their own thing, or, how they're not technically being used by another person. For instance, how Hinata is able to do his own thing now with, looking at the ball and being able to hit it without having to close his eyes and just guess. Hinata's being able to do his own thing. And that kind of makes me assume that's where this is going with Josenji, just showing us, like, an older version of Kurasuno, but a little bit more extreme, and how they could possibly become very strong depending on their training. But that, once again, goes back down to the main concept I was talking about. What was the point in the coach making these, people, or, this team Josenji, actually go up in pairs and go against each other? It just does not make sense to me. I mean, I understand that some of the reasons for it, you're trying to make it to where they can hold their own against impossible odds, which, that's understandable. But even then, I mean, that kind of removes the teamwork aspect of volleyball. So what was there to accomplish with that? Very confused, but I will save that for later because that needs more explaining. It might not even get explained, but I mean, very curious about what the concept of that was. But yeah, I mean, this episode of Haikyuu, Suki also going in, being a little bit of a badass, taking off his glasses and stuff. I just love getting to see his character development. He's definitely one of my favorite characters now, just seeing how much he has developed in this season. So, I mean, yeah, overall episode of Haikyuu, pretty damn hype. I mean, there was some comedy here and there, like traditional Haikyuu. We had it to where our female managers were, you know, kind of trying to say spank, or our main male characters wanted our main female characters to say spank, and I was laughing my fucking ass off, just like, oh my god. So yeah, tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day, or night, wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.